Okay, let's unpack this. Today we're doing a deep dive into one very specific piece of source material. It's an excerpt titled Yoruba Defense of Itsekiri Territory.
Hmm.
And it's attributed to someone just identified as South King.
Right. And just from that title alone, you can tell this is going to be a pretty powerful statement. It
Yeah.
seems to dive straight into potential conflict, defense, all surrounding Itsekiri territory down in Nigeria's Delta State.
Exactly. So our mission for this deep dive, it's really laser focused. We're basically here to carefully pull out and, really understand only the core message,
Yeah.
the specific claims being made, and any calls to action that are presented just within this text itself, nothing more.
And I think it's really, really important to emphasize this up front. The content here, it's highly politically charged. So our job, our only focus today, is just to report impartially what this source says.
Right.
We're absolutely not taking sides. We're not endorsing any of the viewpoints you're about to hear. Think of us as just guides to understanding the perspectives in this one document.
Exactly. Couldn't have put it better. Okay, so jumping right into what the text says, the central stance that the author articulates, it's incredibly stark, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Stark is the word.
Yeah.
They basically declare that the defense of what they call Yoruba land is, well, non-negotiable.
Hmm.
And they specifically identify the Itsekiri people as kin, as Yoruba kin, who are facing these imminent threats of war.
And what's really fascinating, looking purely at the source's point of view, is how strongly it asserts this link between identity and territory.
Yes.
The text says pretty unequivocally that Itsekiri are Yoruba. They are, quote, part of us.
And this identity claim is then immediately tied to land, very directly.
It is. The author explicitly states that the three Warren local governments belong to the Itsekiri by legal and historical right.
Okay.
And then they make that really significant claim that this territory is, quote, undeniably part of Yoruba land.
Right. So identity equals territory in this view. Now, who does the author see as the actual threat here?
Well, according to the source, it points fingers directly at Urhobo and Ijaw forces.
Okay.
The text frames their actions as aiming to steal their territory and political rights. That's the language used.
And it seems the author doesn't view this as just like a localized issue just for the Itsekiri.
Not at all. The text explicitly links it to a wider regional picture. It specifically mentions these things called Ijaw maps, which the author perceives as, and I'm quoting again, greedily claiming the entire coastal Niger Delta. This is presented in the source as a very real, tangible threat narrative.
So that raises a really critical concern, at least from the author's perspective. They seem to fear that if Itsekiri territory is lost, maybe other Yoruba lands could be next.
That's exactly the implication. The text specifically names areas like Ilaje in Ondo State, even Ogun State,
Wow.
saying these perceived maps brazenly include our territories. It definitely paints a picture of a potential domino effect based on these rival claims described in the source.
Yeah, you can see how that narrative builds. It absolutely does. So the author, based on all these perceived threats and these claims laid out in the text, is clearly bracing for conflict.
Oh, without a doubt. The text uses really strong language. It says, if it's war they want, then war they'll get. Pretty direct.
Very direct. And does the document include, like, a specific call to action? Who should be doing what?
Yes, it does. It's a real rallying cry. It calls out OPC, which the author implies is a Yoruba sociocultural group, maybe security too.
Okay.
Gwama, another group they name, and then just generally all Yoruba warriors to stand ready.
So it's specific groups in a broader call.
Exactly. The message from the author is unambiguous. We must prepare for the worst and be ready to defend Itsekiri against any Ijaw or Urhobo aggression.
And that final line you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, the final line in the text really hammers home this core message and the call to action. It says, let's rally, stand firm, and support our brothers and sisters in Warri. Itsekiri are Yoruba, they are part of us, and we'll fight as one. It's a very powerful, unifying, and defiant closing statement within this particular document.
Okay, so just to quickly recap the central stance we've pulled from this source. It's fundamentally a firm declaration of readiness for defense, potentially even war, all to protect Itsekiri land, which the author writing as South King asserts is Yoruba land and, intrinsically part of a larger Yoruba territory.
Right. And the key claims and the perceived threats, remember, only as presented by this author, include that assertion that Itsekiri are Yoruba kin, that the three Warri local governments legally and historically belong to Itsekiri, therefore Yoruba,
Right.
and that forces identified as Urhobo and Ijaw pose a direct threat, aimed at seizing this territory. And the author also clearly fears this threat extends to other Yoruba areas, referencing those perceived rival claims illustrated by the Ijaw maps.
Got it. And the specific call to action, again, found only in this text, is that direct appeal. It's to Yoruba warriors, specific groups like OPC and Gwama, urging them to prepare and, quote, fight as one in defense of Itsekiri territory.
Yeah.
All drawn directly from the single text.
So as you, the listener, consider this source's very specific perspective, maybe just pause for a moment. Think about the intense interplay of identity, history, and these territorial claims that could lead someone to articulate such stark declarations of defense and potential conflict like the ones described in a text like this one.